everybody. It's super rainy and stormy today, and I go to work in just a couple of hours, but I thought that I would check in and let you know kind of how things are going as far as the Disney College program. I have been working now for about 6 weeks. I just finished my final training in Photopass last week. So it's been about a week that I've been fully trained and I'm no longer earning my ears. It's great. It means I have more of a regular schedule now, and I'm really looking forward to that. Before it was a lot of daytime shifts in the beginning because you get daytime photography trained first, and then it's a couple of weeks, and then you get nighttime photography trained, and then a couple more weeks, and then you get your last training, which is character training. It's really hot right now because it's June, July, August time. So the morning shifts are rough. With Toy Story Land opening, we started having shifts start around 6 a.m. If I get those, then the first couple of hours aren't too bad because the sun's still starting to come up. It's not super hot yet. Everyone's really focused on going to Toy Story Land, so I'm not as busy though, so sometimes those hours kind of drag on because I'm not taking as many pictures. People really want to go on the rides before the lines get super long and it gets really hot, which I don't blame them at all. Just kind of a commentary, something I've noticed. Right now that I'm fully trained and I am a college program participant, I'm kind of at the bottom of the totem pole, and so I get a lot of night shifts and a lot of street shifts, which means mostly street icon shooting. So I do a lot of taking pictures of families in front of the Tower of Terror and the Chinese Theater. My assignments have mostly been on Sunset Boulevard, which is the Tower of Terror. I actually have had very few in front of the Chinese Theater. And our characters on those two rotations finish up late afternoon, early evening. So if you're a night shift, you probably won't get to spend very much time with the characters, which, it's kind of a trade-off. The temperature is much nicer. I really do like working evenings because I don't have to worry about, am I going to get super heat exhaustion? For example, today I don't get in until 3:30. So by 6, I know that things are really going to start to cool down, and that's about the time I'll get my first break, and everything will be fine. So it's not like having to spend the entire day. On Sunday, I worked 8 to 4:30, and that is a hot shift. So if it's super toasty, that gets kind of rough. So I do kind of like my night shifts. I also like that it gives me my daytime to do things. I'm a morning person, so it's not a big deal for me to get home around usually 12:30, depending on what my shift is. It's not too far from the apartments. Hollywood Studios isn't. Usually only takes me about 15-20 minutes to get home, depending on what traffic is like. So 12:30, get into bed. I'm usually tired enough I can go right to bed, especially now that I'm starting to get on this cycle. So I go to bed, and then I can get up around 8 or 9 and get things done before I have to be back to work around 3 or 4. So that's been kind of nice. I actually feel like I have a day, whereas during the day shifts, I would go and I would sweat and I'd be so hot. I'd come home and I'd clean up and I'd just want to sit and die slowly on the couch. It would get just so hot, and my body was still adjusting to the humidity and the heat here, and the sun allergy that I had and the sunscreen allergy that I developed. It was a rough couple of weeks in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie to you, it was real rough in the beginning, but I'm starting to feel a lot better about things. So you kind of have to give things time. I've already heard of some people who are self-terming, so self-terminating and quitting because they don't think they're getting enough hours, or they're frustrated with their work, or having a hard time adjusting, lonely, different things like that. I really do think that it takes close to 6 weeks to really adjust to everything and figure out what your schedule is going to be. So I finally know that I have Wednesdays and Thursdays off, which is great. To be perfectly honest, I spend a lot of time picking up shifts because right now in the summer we're really busy. And if I can pick up shifts that are overtime qualified, then I get paid overtime, and that's some extra money that we can save or, you know, put away for when we want to get our universal annual passes, because it's just more cost effective to do that than to go to the park for a day. And they'll give the CPs Florida resident rates, so that's kind of nice. So things that we're looking forward to being able to do, and when they're taking out your rent straight from your check, you want to make sure that you are making as much money as you can. And right now is our busy time. I know that once September and October come around, it's going to slow down a little bit. I won't have as many opportunities for hours, so it's better for me to work now and save that money for when things get a little bit tighter. Let me see, what else? Yeah, the full training for Photopass takes about a month from start to finish. From your day one through your character training, it can take about a month, maybe 5-6 weeks. It just kind of depends for CPs and which park they're in and how many of you came in. There are a lot of us that came to Hollywood Studios at the same time. A lot of my group, a lot of the June 4th arrivals from Disney Photopass ended up in Hollywood Studios. And so we had a lot of people to train, so it took a little bit longer to get everybody through. Something that I finally started to figure out is hydration. So we have our water bottles that Disney has us carry around, and they want us to drink a bottle every hour. It gets really difficult if you have a steady flow. It just depends on where you're at. Also, I've figured out that I take some juice with me in my lunchbox, and then I also take a little Powerade, so that if I'm working those really hot shifts, or even for the first part of my evening shifts, if I'm out on the street and it's a really hot day from like 3 to 6, then I have a Powerade or Gatorade to give me a little boost and get those electrolytes back up. I've noticed, though, that because I've been sweating so much, I think I'm losing a lot of sodium, so we've been kind of craving things like French fries or potato chips, and we're not necessarily salty eater people, but those things have been sounding good to both of us, and I think it's because we've been sweating so much, so that's kind of been an adjustment. And every once in a while, it just kind of, we're just like, I need to eat a chip. And by a chip, I mean, you know, like most of a bag of chips. Let me think if there's anything else. I did finally get some sleeves. So I wear white sleeves that go up underneath my costume sleeve, but they're not a full shirt, that are the UV, and that's going to help so that I don't keep getting, I have like the weirdest tan lines ever from being out in the sun. And especially, you'll notice like my right hand is a lot darker than my left hand, because this is the part on top of the camera, so it's exposed to the sun a whole lot more than this part that's down at the bottom of the camera. Anyway, so to try to help with sun protection, I got those UV sleeves, and they've been helpful. I also think they help keep me cool. It says on the package that they're cooling sleeves, but there's always a part of my brain that's like, but I'm wearing more layers of things. How is that going to keep me cool? But it does, and it's a good thing. Oh, the sweat. So sweating everywhere. Places I didn't know I could sweat, like my shins. Who knew that your shins sweat? They do. True story. And I can't do laundry every day. Like, that's just not physically possible. For our costumes for full time, we do get like 5 shirts, 5 full costumes, but as far as vests go, we only get like 1 or 2 of those. And we have to wear them every day. As well as I only have one of my harness, my camera harness. So I bought Febreze, and I Febreze my camera harness and my vest and my bra every day. I have a couple of bras that I switch, but don't think that I'm like super disgusting. But because I can only get around to doing that laundry like once a week or so, in between, the Febreze really, really has helped so much. There's just some days when I've gotten done with a shift and I smell. And I'm not a stinky person, I'm not a sweaty person, but out here, it's a real thing. So Febreze is one of my big suggestions if you're going to be doing any of the outside roles at Disney, but especially since I'm Photopass, that's one of my Photopass tips. Febreze. And taking some Gatorade or Powerade with you, just a little bit to have on your breaks, just to give you a little extra boost. Sometimes some of the break areas will have the powder. I've heard that we're supposed to be getting more of that powder, so you can kind of mix that in with your water and give you the electrolytes, or you can take electrolyte tablets, give you the boost, whatever works best for you. But definitely hydration, making sure that you're taking care of yourself. One of the things that I've really enjoyed about my role is the guest interactions. I like being out on the streets and being able to not just interact with them as I'm taking their photos, but to be able to help them find other things in the park or make suggestions. I have a lot of people that ask me where they should eat for lunch, if they're looking for somewhere that's air conditioned, different what different rides are, suggestions for their specific kids. And for me, because I've spent so much time at Disney World and I've traveled not just as the two of us or by myself, but also with some kids, it's been really helpful for me to draw on those experiences to give our guests that extra information that not everybody has. Also because I've been an annual pass holder and a Disney Visa card member and have, I don't know, just some experience with different elements of that as people, and Memory Maker. I use Memory Maker because we've used it on our trips as well as having it as annual pass holders. As we have people ask us questions about downloading photos or purchasing photos, I'm able to help with that. And we've even had people come in and ask about some annual pass holder perks that I've been there and been able to answer. And other people were like, oh, I didn't even know that. And the reason that I've known is because I'm currently an annual pass holder. And I just kind of follow along with the things that have been happening. And I'm sure that I think I'll continue to do that because I really like working with the guests, being able to help them out. And somewhere down the road, guest relations would be a really great role, something that I'd really like to do. Anyway, so that's kind of the first 6 or so weeks of Disney College Program Photopass Photographer. I'll have Adam get on and do a similar video so that you guys can kind of get an idea of what the merchandise side of things has been like in the beginning, and we'll keep updating you. I didn't want to update until I was fully trained so I could kind of give you guys an overview. Plus, like I said, the first weeks were really, really rough. I was hot all the time, I was tired all the time, and I felt grumpy and trying to adjust to everything. Like, it takes time, and I'm a pretty determined person and well-adjusted human being, and it was rough. So don't expect to come down here and think that like you're just gonna have fun instantly or that you're really gonna enjoy your role right from the beginning, because it takes some time to get trained and to figure out your routine as a cast member in that particular role, and to find the things in that role that you really enjoy doing. And there are going to be things that you don't love to, and that's fine. That's just kind of part of life. Very rarely are you ever going to find some perfect job where you don't hate doing something. Everyone has their things, but stick it out. It's really enjoyable. But if you've been here for a couple of months and you don't like working here, you don't like the people that you work with, you don't like what you're doing every day, then absolutely self-term and go home. It doesn't even necessarily mean that you won't get to come back for another program. We know some people who are out here who've done other programs and maybe self-termed. It just wasn't the right fit for them at that time, and they're back again. So just make sure that you're learning something from it. You're able to tell your interviewer in the future why you left and why you want to come back. Anyway, that's just a little bit of a snippet of my adventures as a Photopass photographer in the Disney College Program. Until our next adventure.